your best life. Please welcome Rosalyn Kahn.
DavidBMcGArry is a policy analyst at the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. A journalist before joining TPA, DavidBMcGArry has written on a wide range of topics related to technology, government accountability, and consumer choice. He has reported extensively on tech policy and telecommunications, particularly at the Federal Communications Commission and on Capitol Hill. Some articles by DavidBMcGArry. How Trump and Biden are blowing up the free trade system America worked so hard to build. Adam Smith provided a moral foundation for workers' freedoms. The FTC's case against Amazon is a case against American consumers. Not only to no single person, but to no council or Senate whatever. The Supreme Court and the federal government's backdoor censorship campaign.
Hi, everybody. It's my distinct honor and privilege today to introduce you to this wonderful, very cute, attractive young man named DavidBMcGArry. I had seen David at some high holiday services, and his was a new voice to me. But what I really found amazing was just, I've been in a lot of music and entertainment. I could see this guy loved what he was doing. And he has a very interesting life. Part of his life, he's a cantor and he's been in Jewish education. But on the other side of his life, he's been involved in the world of policy. So let's start off with number one. Hi, David. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So tell me, how in the world did you get involved in the world of cantering? I know that we both graduated from CSUN. So starting from that graduation, and you were placed on a step and you said, here I come world. How did that path open up for you?
Well, to answer that question fully, to be honest, I have to go back a little bit before my college tenure. I have to go back to when I was probably 5 or 6. I was sitting in shul with my family, and my brother was bored, and the rabbi let him come up and lead a few prayers. And I, as a good little brother, had to do what my big brother was doing, and I started leading prayers with him. And over the years, that snowballed, and I learned the services. I was a high holiday lay cantor for the first time, the high holidays after my bar mitzvah. I kept doing more and more and learning as much as possible. And then throughout college, I got a degree in opera. I'm a classical tenor. And I've worked in several religious schools. I ran the religious school program and the adult B'nai Mitzvah program for Temple Ner Simcha for a year. And as of these last high holidays, I am now their high holiday cantorial soloist.
Would you ever imagine as that 5-year-old boy following the big brother that you would have landed at what you've accomplished?
I probably couldn't think of it in those terms back then, but I don't think I necessarily would have been surprised. I when I was 5, I was quite rambunctious and precocious, and I think that I wouldn't have been terribly shocked to find out that I made something more out of it.
Fantastic. So not very many people in the world grow up to be cantors in the world, as part of one of the things you do. So what was the road to getting there?
A lot of time sitting in synagogue. As I'm sure you can imagine, spending hours in a traditional conservative service every Saturday and for the mornings and evenings on holidays isn't exactly every kid's idea of a fun time out. So the alternative to sitting there and just being bored and feeling bad for yourself is listening and learning the music and getting involved. And like I said, leading as many prayers as possible, getting involved and participating in as much of the services as I could. And that snowballed from something I did as just as a hobby and a way to keep myself out of trouble, to be completely honest, on Saturday mornings, into something that I now do professionally.
Now, was it a choice or was it an accident that you got involved in the B'nai Mitzvah program?
That was a total accident. I started teaching religious school in high school, and then I started as an assistant teacher, and then I've worked at several different synagogues at this point. And then the wonderful Rabbi Barclay from Temple Ner Simcha, where I had been reading High Holiday Torah for a number of years, came to me and asked me if I was interested in running their education program. And it was a very good time for me to take that on. And like I said, I did that for a year, and it was a wonderful experience. We built a curriculum. We had several students had many B'nai Mitzvah, and it was a beautiful opportunity to get to work with a very special community and a very special group of young people.
Fantastic. And what would you say would be the advice to working with today's young people today with all the problems they face? What kind of advice would you give to educators?
Oh, the primary thing is to treat them like people, treat them like adults. Obviously, you can't you can't interact with them like adults at 100%, but the more that you can just speak to them, maybe not as a peer because it's a student teacher relationship, but speak to them as thoughtful, and usually very bright and intelligent individuals, the better that they're going to respond to you, and the more that they're going to the more that they're going to engage with what you're doing.
Fantastic. So how did you decide that that wasn't enough and you wanted to do something else in your world?
So I've always liked politics and history and policy issues, and I've always spent a lot of time spent a lot of my own time doing that. And teaching was never going to be a long-term thing for me. That just was not in the cards. So as I tried to figure out, as you put it, what I was gonna do coming out of college in the couple of years thereafter, I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in writing and a career in policy, and that's what I did. And so at this point, the cantorial work is a side hustle to the day job, and it's wonderful. It's intellectually stimulating. It's creative, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to dive into something that I'm excited to do every morning, and go to work at a place that I'm excited to be for 8 hours a day.
Fantastic. So what kind of policy types of issues do you face that you deal with?
So I work on a wide range of issues, but I would say the three biggest areas at the moment is tech policy, trade policy, and then also law. And then I do also have some energy policy that makes its way in there.
Fantastic. And which one would you say is your all-time favorite? If you could have it all on one, which one would you prefer?
Well, if I have to choose between my babies, you just have to promise that you won't tell the other ones. If I had to choose an all-time favorite, it would probably come down to the constitutional law side of things. I find a lot of speech cases very interesting. There's a lot of cases at the moment that are centered around centered around the structure of government that the Constitution sets up, and how well the current federal government reflects the classic Article 1, 2, and 3 plan that the framers laid out.
Mm-hmm. Wow, stops me in my track there. I don't know how to follow up with that one. That's a snow stopper there. And where would you say this base of knowledge came from? You know, was there a specific teacher that you had in school that made you say, oh, I love this, got to learn more?
So I think it also just goes back to probably when I was little, and the one teacher I would say would be my mother. I was actually homeschooled until high school, and so I was primarily taught through elementary school and middle school by my mom, and then also several other teachers that we had a study group, and I just absolutely loved history, and I was fascinated by the storytelling part of it. I was fascinated by all the strange things that have happened, and I think probably like every other young boy, I was also slightly fascinated with the war and the weapons and all of the more dramatic all of the more dramatic parts of history. And just as I grew up and as I intellectually matured, that grew into a much greater appreciation of a lot of the answers to all of the questions that we see posed throughout our studies of history. Why do these things happen? What forces cause events to turn? How do ideas shape the course of nations? How do ideas shape the course of economics and technological development? And how do they shape societies? And answering all of those questions, I think really gets down to answering the big question, which is, why do people work the way that they work? Well, how does human nature actually operate? And ultimately, I think that's what I know I am, and I think most of us are trying to unwind in our various ways.
Wow, that sounds really fascinating. So my last and final question is, what would you advise to young people who don't have one narrow, straight path that they're going to do? How would you motivate them with your experience to say it's okay to have a couple of interest of things that you're doing? What would you say to them?
Oh, certainly. I would say pursue pursue whatever thing that you're passionate about, or pursue whatever many things you're passionate about. But however narrow or broad you find your interests, just make sure that you're working harder than you think you need to learn your topic, to familiarize yourself with what you're studying, to build the skills that you need, because everything gets so much more fun once you've passed the initial stages of getting familiar with a given skill or a given area of study. And once you've really put in the grunt work at the beginning, everything opens up, and you can really let the fun begin.
That sounds beautiful. Well, it's been a wonderful time talking to you. I know from the moment that I saw you up there singing and hearing your story that we had to have a conversation. How is it that people can go ahead and follow you? Do you have an email, social media that they handle that they can follow, or what would you suggest?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at DavidBMcGArry. You can also find my weekly Substack roundup newsletter at davidbmcgarry.substack.com. It's called The Thoughtful Spot. And between those two places, you will get the bulk of my work.
That sounds fantastic. Well, my name is Rosalyn Kahn. This is KGNT. It's called Living Your Best Life. My mission is always to tell stories that leave a legacy. You can follow me on all social media platforms. It's been truly an honor speaking to you, and I thank you so very much. Have a great day. Take care.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.